let me just explain to you, and it'll give you some understanding. So at the moment, your march, this group of people, is causing confrontation between different groups of people. Okay?
We're lesbians, it's gay pride.
Whatever you are at the moment is causing confrontation.
I did not want to. I went home and I fucking you're bullshit. Fuck off.
Safely march yourselves.
We don't want to do that. We want to be part of
that's your choice. So what I'm telling you is to make sure it's safe. We are going to remove you from the road, and I want you to do that of your own accord.
I want to make sure I understand that you are removing lesbians from like LGBT march.
Yes, that is what's happening.
Okay, why?
For safety. For your safety, for other people's safety. That's
why you should be able to protect lesbians.
So,
you should be able to protect lesbians.
We can have further conversations about the reasons why at the side of the road, because otherwise you are going to be removed from the road.
It's so wonderful to meet you all. I just wanted to go over, we've got Angela Wild here, Leanne and Sarah, all from Get the L Out. So we're just going to dive right in. An incident occurred on the 27th, Saturday of August, just a week ago when we're recording this now. But I wanted to go over a much larger history of what Get the L Out is, how did they start, all of that. This is very pertinent to everything that's happening with women being canceled and attacked, and I mean the stuff that we've been experiencing fairly heavily since 2017. So I'll give you the floor here, Angela, Leanne, and Sarah. Go for it. Please tell me, how did you guys all start?
I start first. For us, we were all activists before. We were all working with different lesbian groups well before Get the L Out. And and then as Angela said, we saw what happened in the US and also in New Zealand, and Sarah and Angela came up with the idea that we could do something like this in London. Angela, if you would like to carry on.
So we more in detail, what happened in New Zealand, in Auckland, was that two lesbians, Renee and Charlie, actually walked in front of the march, and we thought, and they actually lived to tell the tale. It didn't look like there was any kind of aggravation. I mean, we didn't see any picture or video of them being harassed or anything, so it just clicked that maybe this is the kind of visibility we could achieve in London. So we then started organizing that, and the idea was to bring the visibility on what the trans issue, what the trans movement have been doing to women. It's been at the time in the UK, well recorded, and there was already a gender critical movement, but the lesbian specific issues were completely invisible in that movement. And as we know, as lesbian, we've been touched by this for a very long time in a very intimate way. Cotton stealing is rape, and the transitioning of lesbian is an ongoing long issue. So we thought it was really important that we brought lesbian specific focus on this. Which Pride seemed to be like a perfect place because, they have cameras. So we just turned up.
The phrase "Get the L Out," it existed before, so we did not create it, but we amplified it, and we gave it a lesbian radical feminist content, because we are more than criticizing trans activism. We are coming from a lesbian radical feminist perspective, and we have a radical feminist analysis on many issues. But yeah, the phrase in itself, "Get the L Out," it was already online on Twitter. You can find it from before our action, and if you Google it a bit, I don't know exactly who created. It's really difficult with.
It's been there for a few years as a hashtag that lesbians have used on Twitter for a few years. But I think what is relevant for us is that we didn't intend to create a group or anything. We basically saw an opportunity, made an action, used the hashtag that existed, jumped in. There was no kind of plan of what are we going to do in a year, what are we going to do in 5 years. It was just now, you know, we're desperate. Nobody's talking about the cotton seeding. Nobody's talking, at the time, no one was talking about transition. And we had an opportunity, so we just got all this stuff together. We just jumped in front of the parade. That was pretty much it, very spontaneous.
And we're talking 2018. So for anybody seeing this and didn't know, this stuff can be seen online and everything. Yeah, it was quite shocking, I think, to a lot of people. But for those of us that have ever been in the parade, you know, or the march in general, it was very clear that lesbians were being shoved out more and more and more. I mean, I noticed that starting, you know, in the 80s, really. So with that, what other kinds of actions did you do since 2018? What sort of projects have you been involved in? And then let's get into what happened on Saturday, the 27th of August.
After 2018, we had a few months of break and like not really thinking about what we want to do. But then we saw that there was a Euro Pride happening every year in one of the European Union country. And we saw that it was in Vienna, and we know some lesbians there. So they asked us if we could do that at Euro Pride Vienna, which we did. It was June 2019. A few months before, Liane and Angela were at Swansea Pride, where Angela got physically removed by the police as well. It was already in 2019. We also did the Manchester Pride that year in 2019, and we focused on detransition because there were two very young detransition women and lesbians there. And after this action, they had a big audience on Twitter about their journey and stuff. So it was even before the case on Kira Bell and yeah, so we did that in terms of actions. And then Cardiff Pride, then the lockdown happened, and you know, COVID and stuff. It's difficult to organize direct actions in that type of
we were forced to take a break a little bit.
Yes.
And I think
having said that, we were involved in doing security a lot.
Yes.
Around the UK and also other countries. We also did, there was the first detransitioner conference in Manchester in 2019, where all the Get the LUTuk team was doing security. Yeah, this we are doing also, we are involved with other groups, local groups, where we would have go to different cities, hand out leaflets, talk to people, you know, about the situation regarding women's and girls' rights and so on. So we were always doing that on the side as well.
Yes, and these street stores that Liane just described, they're really actually very good because they are very low kind of, they're very easy to organize. You need a table, you need a little group of women, a few flyers, maybe a suffragette flag, and you engage with people. It is not like highly stressful or anything, but it actually really is good because you can get a really good idea of what, you know, your local population knows about an issue, and it's really good. I mean, you know, there's a lot to be said about big direct action, but I think all the networking you do when you do little actions like this, ongoing, this is going on all around Wales, I think is very important and shouldn't be underestimated.
And I personally, oh, sorry, Sarah. You go on.
I just wanted to mention the Get the LUTuk project called Lesbian Me Too as well, that we launched in 2021. We gathered more than 100.
Rewind a bit because it's a follow-up of the cotton seeding research, really.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah. So what we didn't say is that in 2019 we published a research on the cotton sealing, the first of its kind. There's no other about it. Nobody wants to touch this subject, I think. We managed to get some press, which was very long and very difficult, but the BBC covered it eventually. There's been a lot of backlash about that. And for us, it's always been, you know, let's talk about the cotton sealing, for example, during action, but then you get told always, oh, but it doesn't exist, it doesn't happen. So the idea was to say, well, actually, let's find these lesbians. You know, I mean, we all know women who've been affected by this, you know, at different degrees. And that was the thing. We heard stories, nobody wanted to talk about it openly. So we search, and still we get told, it's only 80 lesbian, it's not much. You know, it's always invisibilization, denial that anything's happening. So then, yeah, we did another project that Sarah mentioned. Sorry, I cut you, but now it's which is called Lesbian too. Yeah.
Yeah, just about collecting lesbian testimonies of male violence, not just from men who identify as trans, but any man and any type of violence. And we collected a bit more than 100, and we shall write a report at some point.
As one grassroots organizer to others here, what I'm curious about is always what kinds of backgrounds we come from. And I'm wondering if is there mathematics, statistics, sociology, or any of you, what kinds of skills do you bring to this as individuals, you know, where you're able to inform the projects that you do? Because I was so impressed when I saw the cotton sealing PDF come out. Like I said, I've handed that out and sent it around the country here, and people would say, well, but you're sending something from the UK. I'm like, this is the concept. This is happening here. And I personally know of young lesbians who have been raped by men coercively, by men who in dresses, you know, that kind of thing. It's very important. But I've wondered what kinds of backgrounds any of you have where you've said, well, let's see, I know how to do this, and so I can bring this to the table, you know, in our group. Can I have a quick...
I think as a group, we are very, very strong because we have so many different skills all together and very different as well. So I don't know who wants to start, but yes. Me, I've got a background in visual art, so I've studied graphic design, so I did the graphics for the report. I also do the banners. The visual aspect is kind of naturally come to me because that's what I do as a job as well. And for example, for the cotton sealing research itself, I was very lucky because at the time I was doing an MA in women's study, which now doesn't exist anymore. And as part of that MA, again, it was very lucky that I enrolled late, so I had a module that I could actually pick whatever I want. It's completely self-directed. So I went a bit bold and I said, I want to talk about that. And they agreed. So it was just like a series of very lucky, you know, breakthrough where I just used those skills and the opportunities. So that's how this particularly came about.
And Leanne, what do you feel that you've brought to this?
I come from an activist background. I'm bottom of the barrel working class lesbian. So I've got very practical skills, shall I say, in many ways. And yeah, and our group, as Angela said, it's we all have different skills, which are really, really valued. And to be fair, we've got also other women who are supporting us with their skills, which we may not have, to be fair. Yeah, so that's me.
Leanne, I think, honestly, you know, your security skills, you know, your...
yeah, that's what I meant with my background.
Right.
With my background. I know I'm the best.
A lot of self-confidence as well.
Yeah,
that's what you need for security. Yeah. How about you, Sarah?
I also come from an academic background because I have a PhD in sociology, and yeah, it helps and this, like, getting to this radical feminist analysis is also tied with my studies and what I read and so on, and like developing some kind of critical mind. And it helps me also with activism sometimes. But I also have a lot of energy, and I like connecting with women. And I'm quite efficient on social media and stuff online. So,
and I think one other thing we have in common is we really have like strong radical feminist politics and a lot of kind of like reading background, theoretical knowledge, as well as practical in the activism world. I would say that we get along in terms of politics, which is quite important.
Yeah, we do have an understanding of also interpersonal interactions and how we can interact with each other in a way that is respectful. Like, we have a quite open reflexivity about it. We're not perfect, like no one is, but we do talk about that, which is quite special, I think, because in the movement there is little open discussion really about how we work together as feminists in a feminist way. Also, when we are lesbians, how do we handle the challenges between like community stuff, politics, friendship, love life, and so on? Like, there's a lot that can go on. So, like, that's also why we work well together, on top of all the skills we've got.
And are the three of you the core of the group? Because I always seem to see about 5 or 6 women in the.
Yeah, I would say. Sorry. No, I would say we are the core of the group. Yes, we've got women who are lesbians who are in the group, but when they can, put it like this, because so Angela, you carry on.
Yeah, and what I was going to say is when we decide to organize something, it's quite fluid. It's really any of us can bring an idea. We kind of pass it through the group. We see if we all agree, can it be a Get the Ella action? Yes. Who can dedicate time to this? It doesn't have to be the 3 of us. Sometimes it's 1, sometimes it's 2, sometimes it's 3, and then we roll with it. And then if there are actions where the 3 of us are not going to put it off, like say Cardiff, we think about who in our bit more extended network would be interested to join, who would match this typical, this kind of action, and then we work like that. We have to be very, very careful, obviously, because the kind of action we do, we can't just go around advertise it, but yes, that's how it works. So obviously networking and connection and having like friends is important, but the core is
Yeah, I mean, that's why I wanted to ask this thing about the skills and how you get along, because I know here in America, we don't talk about that enough at all. We don't talk about class issues, which I think are much more divisive than anybody wants to look at. It's always about race here in America. It's almost always about race. But given what you've just told me and how you get organized and all that, let's get to Cardiff. What the heck? How did you plan that? What informed you about how to do what you did? And if you can give me a rundown chronologically, what went on?
So during the day, pretty much what happened is we waited for the opportune moment to walk in front of the parade. The idea is that we show visibility, like we said, so we will all go in front. So there's always a line of police, and then there's the march itself. We go in between, and we hang our banners and make sure we are visible. It seems a little bit confrontational, but as we said before, there's strategic reason for that. One is our safety. Second is obviously the visibility. If you're lost in a crowd of thousands, you're not going to get your message across. So that's the first thing. Then the police always comes, and then they come and say, you can't be there. To which we say, yes, we can, because we have protest, it is a protest. And, you know, there's negotiation, what can we do, what we cannot do. The police eventually said, yeah, okay, you can march at the front, go ahead. And we did that for about, I think, 10 minutes. And after that, they kind of rounded on us. There was more and more trans activists also on the side, which made it a bit more, like actually quite a lot more hostile and aggressive. We would hear more shouting, and the police kind of rounded on us, then said, you're not marching, as they stopped us. You're not marching, we're going to remove you. You've seen the clip where they said you're going to forcibly remove you. To some of us, they say we're going to arrest you. There's been several things said. So on the clip that you see, I made sure I asked the policeman to repeat again so we could hear, you're removing lesbian from Pride. Yes, yes. So that's pretty much what happened. We then decided to leave at that point. I think the point was made.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, what made you decide to do it at all in the first place? That particular Pride? And do any of you live in? Are you in Cardiff? You're in? Okay.
We are in Wales.
We're in Wales, yeah. So there was two things. We wanted for this action to bring a cotton ceiling focus, because there's been a lot of talk in the UK about transitioning, detransitioning, you know, which from the beginning when we started marching is what, you know, it's not sorted by any means, but there's been some very, very good awareness on this, and the Tavistock is closing down, but the cotton ceiling, we see kind of nothing's happening. So we thought, let's talk more about this. Let's have a big banner that says cotton ceiling is rape. Let's get people Googling what it means. And that was the idea. There's also a very specific Welsh context, because Leanne and I live in Wales. And as much as in England, I know it sounds strange to you, but they are different countries, even though they're in the same island, and they have different government. And England is making some sign of understanding somehow what is going on. But Wales is very, very anti anything English, but also want to prove how progressive they are, and are actually doubling down and speeding up the self-ID, and everything is going to come. In September, they've got this great LGBT action plan, which really means it's going to be hell for women and hell for lesbians. And we wanted to bring a specific, like, focus on this geographically, what is happening to Wales, and no one is talking about it. So that there was a reason for Cardiff, and Cardiff is the capital of Wales. In England, you've got a conservative government right now. And as we know, it's a lot of the conservatives seem to understand biology in a way that a lot of the left wing, whatever, don't seem to understand. And I think with the divide between countries, and there's a historical divide between England and Wales, there's also a political divide where they would just not want to be seen as doing anything like the English. And you can see that with Scotland as well. Scotland is very, very pro-trans, maybe in an attempt to dissociate themselves from England. It's possible.
Very interesting. So nobody did get arrested. Has there been any contact with the police or any information from them? Because something I saw on Twitter was basically the police saying they did everything right. You know, they were being called out on Twitter, and that they didn't do anything wrong or whatever. Has there been any contact, any further communication with them at all about this?
No. We wrote our own statement about the police statement that we thought was not correct on several points. But there was no direct contact with the police.
What is there anything looking back on that? Again, it's only been a week, but is there anything looking back that you feel like you could have improved on, or that you did that was fabulous and you're really happy with it? Either way.
So we had a fantastic group of women who joined us with the action. Absolutely amazing women, and I think for what we had in front of us, we did the best we could. We couldn't have gone any better than what we did. That's my my opinion.
Yeah, I was really proud of what we did, and I don't see specific mistake or something to improve really like so big to talk about it now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
To be fair, each action is in a way similar and in a way different because there's always a different context, geographically as well. You know, like we could be going around and around and saying, "Oh, we should have done this and we should have done that," but at the end of the day, no one got hurt, no one got arrested. Our message got, you know, seen. We got 3 million views. I think it's pretty good.
3.6. 3.6 million.
3.6 million.
Yeah.
And that was what we wanted. We wanted awareness. We wanted no damage to us, you know, pretty.
Yeah, and when everybody comes out, we are all happy and we have a party. That's what we did. We went swimming and yeah, it was amazing. The after as well.
Lovely.
And every single woman who took part is proud of herself that she took part. So that's what you want, isn't it?
Yes. I know you can't talk about if you have anything else planned at the moment, but go ahead, Angela.
Yeah, what I want to say as well is the way we do activism. I don't want women to think, oh my God, you know, this looks very complicated. It really, you know, there's plenty. What we want to also promote is the idea that women can do their own things. Very often we hear, oh, can I join or something? Like, it's not necessarily possible, but, you know, women, you can do things like these kind of things are possible, you know, take some safety measures. We're happy to talk about it. And we try to encourage women to take actions themselves because you can't rely on anyone else. Like no one will speak for lesbians, it's only us. Be safe, you know, doesn't mean don't do it.
Right, right.
Yeah, I think we can agree that ideally in the movement we want as many functioning lesbian feminist groups or even lesbian radical feminist groups or lesbian groups as possible. Like we want, like, it would be amazing to have groups working on many different issues, doing many different stuff, like parties or more political stuff or like holidays and like everything we need as lesbians. More or less activist, but yeah, that's what we want, I think. To inspire we lesbians to do that.
Are there any specific projects other than actions that you can talk about that you're looking at like next in the near future?
What we do,
we will.
go on.
Sorry, there is a demonstration going on in Berlin because the government wants to push through the self-ID, and some of us will be there as well.
Fantastic.
From Get the Loud to support.
That's wonderful. Well, thank you so much. I know all of us are busy and stuff. You guys have got a million things to do to take out this time in the day. And I just much respect. You're very much an inspiration around the world. 3.6 million, Leanne. I got that. I was like, that's fantastic. And yeah, that's what we're always wanting, right? Is waking people up and waking people up to issues these days. It's all taking place on social media because if you can get anything in something like the Daily Mail or the Guardian or anything, it's a crapshoot whether they'll even pay attention. Thank you again so much, and looking forward to.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you very much, Joey, for inviting us.
See you on the other side.